It's your boy TKO Todd Konakoa, and welcome to the Consecrate podcast. Today I have a very special guest, and I always say very special, but here in Clark County, Vancouver, Washington, my guest today is very, very well known all over the place from, since he was young and coming up in the streets and through all the lessons he's learned in his life and to where he is now. He currently is I don't know what you would say, founder and executive director of Kingdom Family Northwest,
Yep.
which is a music ministry to reach people and draw others to Christ. And so we're going to go over all that, but I kind of wanted to just introduce you, and hopefully that was a good introduction.
Yes. Awesome.
But go ahead, like what's your name? Where you're from?
Yeah. I'm Chocho. I'm with Kingdom Family Northwest. We're a music ministry out of the Northwest region of America. I'm from Vancouver, Washington. I've been out here since '87. Where I know Todd. We're really related through marriage, but yeah, I'm a hometown here in Vancouver.
Okay, yeah, V-Dub.
V-Dub.
So obviously this show it's about real stories of people who have been through addiction, crime, prison, and gang life, and what it actually takes to change your life. So like I said, obviously you're someone who's experienced a lot of these things, and you're here today, to tell your story. So I want to get into it. So you grew up here. What was your childhood like?
Yeah, no. First, of all, man, the name of the podcast, consecration, man, that's like almost like a theme of my childhood, until my adulthood, till even to today, that consecration is real. And as a Islander, a Pacific Islander, how it is out here, we're not many, so there's not many of us. So, but what I learned looking back is that I was from a dysfunctional family. My parents were really, I'm like first generation American, you know what I mean? They're like, they didn't know how to, they didn't know, they didn't know how to live in this country fully, So I come from a very big Samoan family. We were poor, uh, dysfunctional family. My parents were addicts and alcoholics, lived through abuse and, like I said, poverty. My memory of being a childhood is full of abuse and being hungry and being neglected. The things of love and the things of safety. It was chaotic growing up as a kid, watching my parents, drink and not have parents that were present in life. And I remember a time in my life I used to see my dad beat my mom.
Wow.
Yeah, man, I used to see my dad beat my mom, and also he beat me. I remember having daily butt whoopings is what I call it, daily butt whoopings, and when I was, like, maybe 9, I remember I forget what I did, but my dad took off his belt, and I'm sure, the pressure of providing for 8 kids, a house of 10, you know, could be very, and being a dad, I understand that, but the abuse that he did, I mean, he took the belt off, and I remember him just whooping, like, just whooping me and my brother, and, afterwards, I remember crying in the bathroom, look still this day, like, I feel, like, the tears in the back of my eyes, but I remember, like, looking in the mirror at the purple and black bruises that I had all over my body, and remembering saying to myself, "I never will be like my dad. I never want to be like my dad."
Yeah, that's I think a lot of Polynesians especially might have higher numbers of, they're not uh, they beat their kids.
Yep,
My dad was born in the 40s. Same thing.
yep.
Definitely afraid of them. And the main thing, and this isn't really about me, but how I can relate to you is like he had a softer side, and he would always feel extremely bad. And I was like,
Mhm.
I remember like him apologizing. I'm sorry, my dad was this way. I'm sorry, but and I just think it was just a really hard thing that passed down through the generations to break. And but yeah, that's definitely, when you're going through that as a child, that is something that shapes you for sure. So like that being part of your childhood and experiencing physical and among other types of abuse, where like at what point, because I know you, and some of the things that you've been through, like where did that take you? How did we get to starting to get into trouble, getting in the gangs, how old were you?
Yeah, when I started well, I think the first time I started committing felonies is probably 11 years old. Now I got put onto a Samoan gang about 13 years old, so very young, very young. But, the stuff that I was doing, looking back, the dysfunctional family and being, the alcoholic father and the addict mother, those kind of things were like wasn't scary. What was scary was coming home
Going home.
to my parents, and so doing all those other things were more like fun and getting away from the chaos at home. So very young, very young. I can't even think. I got a 15-year-old son. I can't even imagine him being in those situations.
Yeah. One thing that you said, I'm sorry I keep doing all these segues, but like I came to the same conclusion too, because there's still moments where I'm just like, and I see my father in me, and I swore the same thing too, is that like I never want to my kids to feel the way that I felt.
Yeah,
And so for a lot, they have no idea how lucky they are, by the way, right?
yeah,
But I the other question I had was like, I guess who or what was your main influence? Who influenced you the most? Was it your parents? Was it
yeah.
someone
I
else?
would say I would say it would be my parents. I noticed that I had a very violent side. My reaction obviously came from my dad with the violentness, but my mom, she was the life of the party. So obviously, I got both of those from them. I think my cool side came from my mom, and my aggressive and serious side came from my dad, and that's really the two biggest influences on my life ever.
Yeah.
And not in the good way per se. I would definitely not in a good way. Everything that they influenced in my life was bad. My dad actually used to train me up to fight. Because he was a Muay Thai fighter, and so he was always training me every day, so as far as I can remember. And he would always train me to go kill. You know, and then when I tried to go do that, then it's like it's like man, it
Get
was
in trouble for doing it.
yeah, I got in trouble, and then I mean, he rejected me, he acted like I didn't exist. So time was pretty tough after that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of poly dads are want their sons to be the best at everything, and training them up,
Yeah,
hitting the mitts with them,
yeah,
getting them trained up early because it's like they're an accessory to themselves. Like this is my son, and I want him to. I think it really just goes back to childhood trauma.
yeah.
Everyone has so
Everybody
much of
has
it,
something.
right?
Yeah.
Um, do you know or have you like a pinpointed like as a because there's things that get people to join gangs or start using drugs or alcohol. What do you think in your life looking back now? What do you think was missing?
Well, definitely in functional families, what happens is the parents are tasked to give the children skills, life skills, and I didn't have that. I had parents that didn't give me life skills, like you say, like go and kill people. Like that's a skill my dad gave me. He didn't give me the skill to go and like learn how to deal with depression, or learn how to deal with heartache, or learn how to deal, with the struggles of life. It's the lacking of parental guidance and support in crucial ages when you're really young is really what can be lacking for a lot of people. I mean, there's always that turning point where something pushes you there, but there's a turning point where it stopped being your parents' fault and it starts being my fault, right?
Right,
So I mean, but that I don't think that was really later in life where you know the 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 abuse in the home was like, I wasn't sexually abused, but I was physically abused, on a regular, and I remember the last moment. I'll tell you about the last moment, last straw. I got caught, I'm like, maybe I think I'm 14 at the time, probably 14, and, I just got arrested, got out. My dad, got out, let me come home. It was, like, around Christmas time, and they all, I was already drinking, committing crimes. I'm fully, like, in the street, you know what I'm saying, at
vested
13.
vested in the street.
Yeah, I'm invested. I'm already in it. I got my homeboys and everything, and everybody's coming over to my house 'cause my parents are gone. I'm like, "They're gonna be gone," and usually when they're gone, bro, so I don't see them for a long time, and I was like, "I'm gonna have a party," so I had them come over, all the homies come over, and, we're drinking and partying, and all of a sudden, my dad comes home early.
Ooh,
Yeah, he comes home early, and, and him and my mom, started getting out because she's defending me, and he starts beating her up,
Mm.
and so that's how I jumped in and had to, try to get him. My dad he was a good, he got me a couple times and knocked me down, and I just remember, all my friends were there, and I had to get my mom up and pull her out of the house, and we all took off, and that was the last time I was home. I left home after that. I haven't been back since. So I was almost 50, and that was back in mid '90s. So
How old are you now?
I'm 46. Yeah,
You don't look like it, bro. You
yeah,
hey, I did I I'm 42, so I mean you're
yeah,
doing pretty good.
yeah. We're doing all right.
So so that was the last time that you that was the last time that you were home. And after that, that was kind of like the thing that made you just fully jump into the deep end of crime and
Yeah.
gang life.
Well, the from '94 to '95. So this is around '94, but the I went on a violent crime spree. Um,
In your teens.
from that point till they caught me. They caught me at 15. I went on a violent crime spree. I was like robbing. I was just robbing random people at everywhere. Just jump off the bus stop.
Give me that.
Yeah, anything I saw, I just took. Just a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid just running wild.
You just imagine a Samoan kid running up on you like, "Let me get your stuff." For the viewers, just imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, and just for the viewers, man, I'll tell you a little bit about the Samoan uprising. I was raised that if you ain't Samoan, die slow. That's the mantra that I had. I always walked around with this murder, death, kill mantra in my mind that I walked to that beat. Murder, death, kill, murder, death, kill. That's what I walked to. And at 15, I was out there I was robbing everybody. Strong arm robberies. The task force did a sting on me. I was 15-year-olds. They did a sting on me. You know how Friday night football for high schools,
Mhm,
it's pretty big. Back in the '90s, it was super big.
mhm.
And out here, we used to back then we used to go to like Round Table, Highway 99. Everybody used to go to Taco Bell. So after football games, Taco Bell was just packed with just teens and high schoolers
Uncle
everywhere.
Frank was still around back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it used to be like really like just like you know body to body packed parking lot full of people. And at 15, after doing all those armed robberies, attempted murders, they finally caught me. They caught me at 15. I was at Taco Bell after a football game, and I already did a couple crimes at that Taco Bell, so it wasn't smart to go back there. But they they actually went back there and they jumped out of the bush. Task force jumped out of the bush. The task force jumped out of the bush and grabbed me. I was in my lava, just out there, just wilding out, and the task force jumped out, grabbed me, and they locked me up for like pages of attempted murders, armed robberies, strong arm robberies, assaults.
Just throwing the book at you.
They threw everything. And the thing is that I looked at them, and I mean, these were all things I was doing, and so they caught me at 15, and that stopped me in my track from doing anything more harm. And so they set me up for attempted murder, strong arm robberies, and a few violent crimes. So I was locked up from 15 to 18. Did you do any juvenile time?
Yeah. So you went to back then they were doing like weeks. So you
Yes.
get like a bunch of
Yes.
weeks
Yeah.
and I spent a lot of people don't know what that old juvenile detention was like in the county. That place was miserable in the press for me.
Yeah.
I saw any song that I hear back from the 90s, I
Yeah.
remember from Z100 and I'm like,
That
I'm
speaker.
depressed now.
Yeah, that
Uh,
speaker on that Z100.
Slapping up all the toilet
Yeah, toilet
paper.
paper on that speaker. Yeah.
Shut
Yeah.
up. But yeah, like, so where did, so at 15, you get all these you get some big cases and,
Yeah.
when you get a bunch of time as a juvenile, you feel like you're doing life, right?
Yeah.
So is that what you got, like a juvenile life type situation, or did you get
Mm,
like a 3, 4, 5 years?
I got 3 years.
Yeah.
I got 2 years. I did 2 years, 9 months, actually, to be exact.
I mean, that feels like life when you're a little kid.
Yeah, especially in high school. Those my high school years from 15 to 18. I got out when I was 18. I got out.
Where'd you go?
I went to Maple Lane. Back then, it was a boys' institution.
Yeah.
Maple Lane is in next
It's
to Green Hill, kind of.
it's notorious. Maple Lane and Green Hill are pretty notorious.
Yeah, it was actually the biggest like institution for youth in the state. I mean, it's a pretty big institution.
Is there Do you think so that during that 2-year period, like, what was time like for a 15-year-old kid who's active in a
Yeah,
gang? Now you're in an
yeah.
institution. What was it like in there for
Well,
you?
you know how it is. Islanders, we're just pioneering ourselves into this kind of a culture because there wasn't really many Samoans before like my generation that was in the system,
Yeah, up here.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like it was like I'm like one of the I'm not there's generation before me for sure, but we were, it was like going in there, you know, it was scary. Coming from Vancouver, a smaller town, and going against bigger cities like Seattle, Tacoma,
They're
Spokane.
moving quicker.
Yeah, they're moving quicker. They're more hip to that lifestyle than, at the time coming from Vancouver, gang life wasn't like as it is now. But like there was definitely a difference between how I moved and how they moved. Right? I adapted quickly, but it wasn't like from any support from my family because when I got sent up, my dad said, "We're not going to come see you." He told me he wasn't going to come see me, and I had to walk that off all by myself. The challenge is when you go into these places and you don't know how to move, you don't have no guidance, you have to figure it out. And thankfully, I wasn't like lop or anything like that. I mean, I catch on to things pretty quickly, especially as a kid, especially in that lifestyle. It's just like violence rules everything around you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And
So that's
especially
easy.
in juvenile and in prison, like,
Yeah.
it's if you're willing to enforce things with violence, that or if that's the that's how you're gonna kinda level up or gain
Yeah,
respect.
exactly. Yeah, and you can exert your dominance. I was a pretty big kid, but, back then this is how far back I go, I think about it. Back then, they used to let us smoke in those facilities as kids. That's how far
What?
that's how old I am, like, back then, they let us smoke. They used to well, in that facility, there was a lot of cigarettes going around, they didn't care. It's like the times were so naive then. But when I left that to go to a group home, they'll go buy us cigarettes. They'll go buy us cigarettes.
Okay.
We'll have cigarettes on us, you know what I'm saying? We'll have our little smoke deck and everything. So it was when I went to camp, it was a lot of smoking going on there.
Did you, like obviously, I've talked to a lot of different people that have either been to, like, Maysville, Green Hill, Maple Lane.
Mhm.
Some people have different stories, like, for some people, it was a nightmare and they're fighting all the time, but,
Mhm.
like, what are some dark moments that you went through in those 2 years?
Well, I didn't know how to do time. It was like brand new to me. It's like the first time, I started doing time. So, it was depressing, and then you don't have no
Yes.
loved ones be there for you. It was depressing. So, I mean, I was depressed, but at the same time, I wasn't like, I was young and I had to walk that out. But in those times, to tell you the truth, the care that I got from even a place like that was better than the care I was getting from home. Like they fed me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They cared about like medical issues that I may had, and I never experienced that. So the really hard part was just feeling rejected and abandoned, and not knowing these feelings because in dysfunctional Islander families, they don't really talk about. Oops,
Your
okay.
feelings.
They don't really talk about feelings like that.
The green light's on, you're good.
Okay. But yeah, they don't really talk about feels. So I didn't know how to deal with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it was like navigating something because at those times, because we're from back then, mental health was looked at as weakness.
Yeah. Yep.
So like
Tough it out.
yeah.
Just get over it.
And, and the real talk with Islander culture, biggest thing that we look down on is shame. Like that's like the worst thing that can happen to us if we live in shame. So I wasn't trying to live in shame. I was fighting for like mental health and emotional stability. And even in the system back then, mental health wasn't really big into like those systems like the juvenile systems like they are now. I work with a lot of juveniles and see the system. I was like, dang man, you guys are
It's
lucky.
a little bit better now,
Yeah,
but
you're lucky.
I remember the transition from because I have a lot of childhood memories in the county down there, and it's just like you're a lot the old juvenile is so
Uh,
much lockup time.
oh, yeah.
So much lockup
Yes.
time that when you're getting out to, like, Mr. A,
Yeah. Oh,
and
Mr. A, my guy.
and it's just like, I just
Oh,
me
wow, you go way back then.
yeah, yeah, I was doing time in the '90s.
Yep. Wow, okay,
Yes,
Mr. A.
Mr. A, and I just remembered that place as being I was always extremely depressed, and, But I had for me, went I got lucky and I got an option B my first time. So instead of going up to the juvenile institution, I got to go to wilderness survival.
Nice.
Yeah, it
Boot
was
camp.
basically, yeah. But that wasn't enough, obviously I didn't learn my lesson, but for you, you go through these couple years. Obviously, and as a teenager, you're not good at regulating your emotions, like you
No.
explained. Like you don't know what
Yeah.
you're suppressing them, if anything, and you're creating more maybe negative belief systems, more, getting associated with people you probably shouldn't be getting associated with, and creating relationships with these people. So when you get out, like, what was that like when you got out? What did you go right back to your lifestyle, or what?
Yeah, no, I actually did go back to my parents' house after that, now I think about it, when I got out of there. I didn't really go back to a lifestyle right away, but I was around it, I had my cousins and all my childhood friends. They were still doing the same thing, but and my family were still doing the same thing. So I went back to the environment where it all began, but I didn't, like, I was hustling, like hustling weed and working, and I was married. I think I was married at 19, but,
You got married when you got out. Okay.
yeah, I got married right, yeah, like, pretty much right when I got out,
That
but
seemed to be like an anchor for you at the time, or the short time that it.
well, it's one of those things where, you're in prison and you kinda envision what's gonna keep you out of trouble, and you kinda you try to live that out when you get out. That was one of those attempts. Like I was trying to live out what I visioned would keep me out of prison. The one, I haven't robbed anybody since the '90s, since before then. So, that's what I'm saying. One, I
Thank,
got the
thank
yeah.
goodness.
I mean, it's just because you level up in that lifestyle, man. That just, I got more hustle than to rob you. I'll hustle you out your boots instead of take it from you. But that whole part being married that time is just, I was just young and I didn't have right mentors or support or people raising me up to be a man, or what being a man looks like, or what being a husband looks like, so I was just young and just jumped into something that was, I wasn't ready for responsibility either. I wasn't, like, I just wasn't ready. So I mean, then from there to getting out, and then about the time I was 20, I was back in it, so it took about a couple years, so
If you don't mind me asking, so like obviously there's different classifications of drugs, right? And each one
uh-huh.
kind of has a kind of a group associated with it, right?
Yeah.
And kind of a
Mhm.
subculture.
Yep.
When was the first time you did like hard drugs, or
Yeah.
like methamphetamines or any other
Yeah.
types of drugs? Like when did that like enter your life?
Good question, and, a really good question because I mean, it's taking me back to memories, that will really back to the dysfunctional family part, right? The first time, I ever did any mind-altering substance is what I call it, right? My childhood friend, his parents grew weed, Ben, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his parents were hippies, they grew a lot of weed, man, they grew a lot, but we never messed with it until I think what happened is my family, we got homeless, we're
Shout outs
homeless.
to Ben.
Yeah, shout out to Ben, I talked to him yesterday, he's in Nevada prison, so he probably called me, hope he don't call me during this, but my family was homeless, and we were living in some rundown house. 8 of my siblings and my parents were just living on in the living room floor, or just, we're just basically living room floor, um, and I remember I started smoking weed around that time, and, then I remember the first time I drank was in that house, you know, um, and it just opened up a door, a euphoria that, you know, "Oh, no wonder this is why, my parents do this, so they don't have to feel their problems, and you can feel
Wow.
good."
Wow.
So, I mean,
That's
I'm
something you realize at that moment.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
I was like 12, but I was 12, and then, my family ended up going to a shelter home, um, and at the shelter home downtown Vancouver called Open House
Oh
Ministry.
yeah.
Yeah, man, shout out to Open House, man, love those guys. Still see them doing amazing things for families, but, our family was there, It's the older building. They tore the old building down, built this new one now. But back then they didn't have like the regulations they have today. Like there was a manager that lived there, but the manager left one for a weekend, vacation with the family or whatever, and the whole shelter home was start turning up and getting lit. And I remember one of these times that they're all getting lit. Adult, I think about 13 now, 12 or 13, 13 are the oldest, but there's adult there. He gives me like a palm full of meth, tells me to eat it.
A palmful?
Yeah, palm full. I
And
ate it.
you're how old?
13.
Bruh,
I think it was in between that from 12 to 13. But
that's a lot for your first time.
yeah, back then it was a little different too. So that was the first time I did it. Was Thursday in the shelter home, and some grown adult gave it to me.
And so what so did you get, like, on one of the like, what
Yep,
happened?
yep. I went on once, and that's what started the violent crime spree.
Oh, it was that,
Around
okay.
that time is because I'm getting high off meth.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm drinking. I really, like, try to be a weekend warrior with the back then it was crank, but, at the same time, like, nobody knew what was going on with me. They were just like, nobody knew, but, and then you have, like I have my, like, big homies and stuff from the gang, they were here, so I feel invincible anyways. Like, I'm just doing crazy stuff because I got well,
Who's gonna stop me?
yeah, when we make a call, you know what I'm saying? Call the big homie, come through, and he's gonna put hands on everybody,
I think what a lot for people that have viewed this that had never done drugs, like,
you know?
I read somewhere and I was talking about this with a friend of mine that methamphetamines is, like, over 1,000 times more potent than cocaine.
Oh, yeah,
So
for sure.
the
Yeah,
neurological and psychological
yeah,
things, like, for some reason, it just, like and I'm a former meth addict as well,
yeah,
and I just remember, again, it's not about me, but yeah, that stuff will make you go on 10, and for some reason, it makes everyone into even more of a criminal than they
yeah, makes these
it
like super criminals.
there's something to it,
Oh,
right?
man, there's something to it.
So
It's
I can understand what
yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean it's I can never imagine looking back and look now that I would ever give a kid any drugs, or back then that's what adults were doing, and these times like the influence of minor substances like meth and alcohol, it's you're not making good decisions. You're not in the mindset to make good decisions. So
100%.
yeah, but that was my lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? And then, obviously, getting older, getting out of, juvenile prison, and then, about 20, I turned back to it, I mean, and life happens, and, I had a marriage that, didn't last long, and, she took my daughter and ran, and nobody helped me. Nobody helped me again, my parents didn't help. They didn't, like, try to reason with that girl and her family. They just allowed things to happen to me, and, when my daughter was took from me, I was like, "Man, I'm going all the way in," and that's what I did, you know? Actually, it wasn't that, it's just that it was, my cousin Lapu, I don't know if you know my cousin Lapu.
I remember hearing about him.
So, like, my daughter this is the part where it's, like, dysfunctional and stuff that happens in Islanders families because, suicide is very high in Samoan culture, and Islander culture would just and that's the reason for it is because I think, Islanders, we're all about love. So we love hard, but we hurt hard too.
Yeah,
And, nobody taught us how to deal with that kind of stuff, and my cousin, ended up, killing himself. I'm 20, he ended up killing himself at 21, actually. My daughter got took from me at 20. He died at 21. And then, Ben's brother Ben's brother, my boy Ben is in Nevada prison. His brother these are my childhood friends, my old friend. His brother got murdered at
yeah,
22, so
I
it's
remember
kinda
that
like,
too, yeah.
like, dealing with all that stuff, like, and, just it takes somebody over the edge. It'll take anybody over the edge, right? And not having, I think in the Islander culture, it was a lot of ignorance and a lot of not knowing. And, today's a little different though, really different for a lot of Islanders. They understand mental health is real, drug addiction. I remember I was getting mental health treatment. They're like, "Don't let them brainwash you." And what? Man, I like them because 'cause they're putting words into what I'm experiencing. Like, I was experiencing darkness in a way, and they were like, "Okay, this are you experiencing this?" I'm like, "Yeah, how did you know that?" You know what I mean? It was like, "How did you know that?"
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's interesting how the opposition how I, consider things and the lens that I look through life through. From an early age, a lot of people that I have interviewed thus far,
mhm.
it's uncanny that around the same ages is when it seems like young men start to really get attacked.
Yeah,
So, it seems like the people are start kids are starting to use drugs between 9 and 13 years old,
yeah,
and then, testosterone's kicking in, their
yeah,
puberty kicks in, and they
mhm,
just spiral out of control. So after this, all of these series of events and traumas and losing people that are close to you in your life, what happened after that point? Did you like? Because a lot of people know you're at in Clark County, like everybody knows Chocho, like
yeah,
from the streets. Like if you
yeah,
were in the streets at one point, you knew this
yeah,
gentleman here.
yeah.
What did you go end up going to prison? Did you end up going to jail more? Like what through this from the time that you because I know that you went to prison at some point, an adult prison. What happened in between that period of these traumatic events and then getting caught up again?
You know, the interesting thing that, I normalize is that, I was a killer, man, and thankfully I didn't kill nobody, but it wasn't from lack of trying, not trying, you know what I'm saying? I tried, you know what I'm saying? And thankfully I didn't kill nobody, but, I suffered with a very violent, murderous spirit. When you couple that with, depression and, mental health, it's a recipe for disaster when you have somebody as high violent, high profile, and highly, emotionally unstable. Because I was emotionally unstable, and I was, as men, we suffer in silence. So that's what I did is I suffered in silence at that time, and through those years, and it got to a point where like I wasn't suicidal, I wasn't homicidal. Well, I didn't want to be homicidal, and I didn't want to be suicidal. You know, but I didn't wanna live no more, and I suffered with, like, thoughts of killing people every day, and fighting those thoughts, and drugs actually help degress that a lot, and so I golf I what people saw wasn't really what they saw was like, this guy is just a gang member, career criminal, drug addict. What and they thought it was evil and all that. I probably was all that. I was all those things. But the reason I was all those things is that I was hurt. I was really hurt. I was depressed. Like being rejected from the world is one thing, but also being rejected by the ones that they're supposed to love you is
Yeah.
another. So I engulfed myself into a lifestyle of crime. 100% of my lifestyle was dependent on criminal activity, and how I ate, how, I sheltered myself, how I clothed myself, that was all 100% on a lifestyle crime, and that's what I did. The politics around those times were pretty high against, career criminals. Obviously, you've seen the come down in the city where they were just cracking down hard, between everybody. Everybody's getting cracked down hard. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened out here that, like, in the midst of that all that, I'm tiptoeing through it, from, 2003 to 2014. I was out 2.5 years total.
And the rest of it, you were in, what, Clark County and
I've
other
been to
places?
3 felony trials. I fought hundreds of cases. I was fighting cases all the time, and I wasn't out 2.5 years consecutive. It was
Right.
like a little bit here, a little bit there. I played that cops and robbers game to the T with them, but what I realized at the end is that it was causing me to have mental health issues because they were dragging I mean, literally, these guys would kidnap me, hold me against my will. I mean, and it wasn't like they were pretty slick, bro. They would get me. It wasn't like they would get me like I'll come in easy. But how they got me was so slick, and they used to think it's funny, and I think it's funny now. But I'll say 9 out of 10 times I've ever been arrested in that time frame, was when I was asleep. I don't even know how they find out where I
Just
was.
wait till 2 o'clock in the morning to kick your door in.
I don't know, at any time, it's just funny how they caught me. They'll catch me. I mean, most of the time, the people will be telling on me, but at the same time, it's like there's like there's no way anybody knows I'm here, and they're just pretty slick.
One of the things I think that a lot of guys that have, especially with methamphetamines, you're up for so long, and then eventually your body shuts down, and
Yeah,
you just go like to a comatose
yeah,
state of
yeah,
that you not know what's going
yeah.
on. Um, and you start losing track of days and time
Oh
and stuff
yeah,
like that. So during this time, you're in and out, in and out, in and out, fighting cases. That's
yeah,
something I can relate to. And it's like this becomes now your new norm
yeah,
of, and you become very hip to how to basically not tell the truth, how
yeah.
to fight cases and win, right?
Mhm.
Because I was just talking to another guy. I mean, our justice system, I don't know how it is today, but what I learned pretty quickly is it's not really always about justice. It's more about a negotiation.
Yes, it's about numbers, and
It's about knowing the law.
their job is to it's a game, it's like a sport to, the prosecutors and, the defense. It's like it's a and I realized that, like, they weren't really after everything that they try to get me for, wasn't things I was doing.
Right.
It was just things they were trying to pin on me, and, the part where I realized it's like, "Oh, we're playing a game." I was facing a, life sentence, right? Somebody falsely accused me of kidnapping them, right? Um and I'm going to trial for this. Like they come and get me. It was so close. I'll tell you about this real quick. This had to be maybe 2006 or whatever. 2000, yeah, 2006 maybe or 2007. And I get out. I get out and I'm just jugging. You know what I'm saying? There's some people that owe me money too. I was like trying to chase them down.
Doing your thug
And
dizzle.
yeah, and I was just trying to get back up. You know what I mean? And but their little minds were like, "How do we stop Chocho?" Because I was just a force that wasn't really nobody was really able to mess with, right? And this person um, is a female. She got rejected by me, right? She tried to come on me. I rejected her a little bit, so I just wasn't into, what I'm saying. And what happened is she owed me money too, and she seen me with another girl. And what she did is, in her twacked out mind, knowing the cops, look at me at a high degree, I mean, like a high degree, like, people are making money off of me with the police every day, and
Just calling Crime
yeah, just
Stoppers.
calling crime stuff, just telling them all kind of stuff. Some of the stuff I got accused, it's like, man, this is crazy, and this one was really crazy because she said I kidnapped her and held her against her will, and, so, I'm just like, "Man, this is my third strike," so
Oh, you had 2 strikes.
yeah, and I still got
Oh,
2 strikes.
wow.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
I look out, man, I'm like, "Okay, these cops, I already know they've been playing me funny."
So for people who don't know, like in Washington's a 3 strike state. So you could catch a case when you're juvenile, like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, let me out, I'll plead to it," and you get 30 days and you have a strikeable offense. And you do that a couple times, but you
yeah,
literally I've met so many guys in the joint
yeah,
that are doing 3 strikes over some of the dumbest
juvenile
stuff.
stuff too, but I mean, they got action now because they got laws that are removing the juvenile strike. Because I had a juvenile strike at the time, still do, but they removed that, right? So they have action today. A lot of them are winning, because of the case that, I think it's Blake, where they're getting action with the juvenile cases,
Yeah.
my mind is like, "Man, you know what?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm not doing," what I'm saying? They already set me up. I already went to trial. The first time I went to trial was after, Matt got murdered, right? They got me out the street quick, you know what I mean? I was trying to find the killer, and I was just gonna handle it, it's nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, "Yeah, no, we're gonna get them," and the cops got me off the street and set me up for a guy pulling a gun on me. This guy pulled a gun on me. I beat him up, but he just happened to be an informant. So they don't like that. They don't like Let me tell you, they don't like you when you beat up their informant, so they
In Clark County, there's so many people that are part of whatever program they have to
oh,
offer.
yeah.
And, anyways, but yeah,
Yeah, and it's part of I can't cry wolf because I always said, "Man, I can't cry wolf. This is what the lifestyle I chose."
yeah,
But the thing is about that is I didn't know at 13, and that's what I told you today. Your decision now, when I was 13, I didn't know that that decision there was going to affect me into my 30s.
You don't ever think it's gonna be you.
Yeah. Well, and and it's like, man, I didn't know I was making a commitment now at 13 that I was going to do the same thing at 34 when I'm sitting in prison. And you know, the the challenges of that is just a lot of the the heartache of the system, right? And when they try to get me for that third strike, man, let me tell you, um, all the stars aligned up for me to kill a cop, right? The There was a situation. I'm like, man, I need to get a gun, because I'm not playing with these cops, right? And like, so I was like, man. And then some people called me that I know. They were like, hey, I need you to get this come over here and help us deal with these gangsters that have guns and stuff like that. So I roll up, and they had a mini Mac 10, and I just walk in the house, and I just you
Like
know
a submachine gun?
yeah, they had two 50-round clips with it too, fully loaded, two 50-round clips, and I was just like, bro, I was like, yes, and I had this basket, and I put in this clothes basket, and I just walked out all these rolling 40s. They were rolling 40s. They had the house full, what I'm saying, and I got them
For the strap?
for the strap. And I got in the car, and I took off, and I was gonna let the police have it, man. I was gonna let them have it, because I was just like, man, this is, they already set me up for the guy pulling the gun on me, and I went to prison. I lost that in trial too. They set me up, and I think they were just trying to get me off the street because of.
Where did you go when you lost that case?
I went up to Monroe,
Monroe?
and I went to Stafford and Large.
Okay. So I know a couple guys that were in there with you at that time.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know I don't know, put names on the pocket, but Danny Myers, there's another guy, 'cause they've all they all know you. And I've been to Stafford City. I was in G Unit my first
Is that
time.
the one with the toilets in the cell?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, medium. But, so okay, so I didn't know, so you've actually been to prison a few times.
2 times.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the first time was that when the guy pulled a gun on me, but after that, I was fighting cases. I wasn't gonna you know what? I wasn't gonna let them, just, like everybody, they go take plea bargain. I don't plea bargain in my life. I don't plea bargain, unless it benefits me, 100% benefits me. But, when I had that gun, right?
Yeah, so you're looking for
Yeah, they're looking for me. I mean, these guys, bro, they were looking for me everywhere. Well, I get to his house out there on Mill Plain by Walmart, and I'm with this like biker dude, right? He's just driving me around. He's just being, a good friend because nobody was there for me, and he was there. We just get high too or whatever, just doing a bunch of meth and I got these like snitches like on my tail trying to tell the police where I'm at, and they located me at this house. But this biker parked his car down the road some, and so, we had to get out of there. So I'm like, I got duffel bag with the strap in it, and, you know, I hear the cops. They're just like swarming everywhere, and we get into the car, and my hand is just it's ready, and I remember the cops were giving chase. They were giving chase, but I think somebody told them something. Now I think of it, but they were giving chase. You know how Mill Plain has those little dividers up there by the Walmart and the hospital?
yes.
Yeah, so, like, the cops, man, that I got around one of them, and, like, it was, like, right by the Walmart, so I got around one of them at the time, and at the time, it's different now. Now they gotta, like, straighten it out so it's not as crooked. But I got around it, and then I dipped down to the hospital. I hear the cops. I see this young cop. He's trying to bust around these things too to get to me, but I get down to the hospital, and I pull into these apartments, and I have a moment of not fear, but something told me,
Second guess.
yeah, second guess, and so I just got the car, left the gun there, got the car, and I got away, but that young cop was so close to getting smoked, and, for whatever reasons, I get out the car, get away on foot, and, later they catch me asleep somewhere. They catch me asleep somewhere, and I go to court. This is how the system is, right? Their system, they have nothing on me. I go to trial. What I learned,
Oh, Clark County is the worst.
yeah, but what I learned is that
Corrupt.
the right that people miss all the time? What I learned is that I don't give the prosecutor time to build a case against me. You have the right to a speedy trial. I go to speedy trial. You arrest me, I'm going to trial in 60 days. They can't build a case that quick. They just can't, and so I went to trial in 60 days, and that's how I beat a lot of cases because I'll go to a trial date, I'll show up, they'll drop the charges.
No way.
Yeah,
I've only been to one trial date, and it was a scary
yeah.
moment for me.
It
So,
is scary.
it was just
Yeah, no, it's pretty nerve wracking. It's like one of the nerve wracking, especially if it's like the situation where I didn't do the crime, right? And I know I didn't do it, but I thankfully at that time I had a really awesome like defense attorney that really saw the case as it was. Like they're lying, like yeah, thank you, and she fought for me, but also the prosecutor had a case, right? They had this girl saying this, and then I had to build a case. What I had was somebody that cared for me. Man, she cared for me to come on the stand and testify that I was with her. So how the system is like their case is a lie, my case is a lie, and we're going to trial with two lies. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't with this girl, and that I didn't kidnap that girl. I didn't do nothing to that girl. I didn't do
yeah,
nothing.
it's
And
weird.
so that's the truth. And man, shout out to that girl, man. I mean, she saved my life, man. She came in and got on the stand, testified, lied, and said I was with her when I wasn't, and the other girl got on the stand, lied, and you know what happened is that girl lied. She said, "Yeah, he kidnapped me for 5 weeks," and my attorney was smart, kept on putting her up on the stand. It went from 5 weeks to 5 days to 1 day
It's not
to 1 hour to she said, "Well, he just let me do whatever I wanted to do," and so that's how the whole case was. Just the whole trial was a lie. And so the system is like you said, like they're just after, they're not after the truth, and not saying that's all the system. That's just my experience in the system.
yeah,
There's situations that people do deserve, what I'm saying, they do deserve to be locked up. And maybe I did deserve in the sense that I part of a lifestyle that's what comes with it. But in my experience, it wasn't. It was just a game. They're playing games with my life. You know what I'm saying?
Clark County is death for people. I always tell people that now I've gotten experience of different places in the country and what things might be like there, especially in the adult prisons. Like by the way, so Alabama, for example, has no central air in their
Oh
prisons. So there's no
man,
like AC, and it's like 100 degrees plus
yeah,
humidity.
it's always hot down there, right?
So, yeah, I mean, except in the winter. But here in Clark County is dirty. It's nasty. You could literally like get beat up or killed in the cell. No one would ever know.
Yeah,
So this in these places is like where you're fighting your case, and so for that's why they get such a high conviction rate. Like
yeah,
for me, I would take the first plea bargain just to get up out of there, right? But then as time goes on, kind of like what you're explaining, I learned how to because you have very little access to the law library there.
mhm.
And so a lot of the times they're bluffing. They send you the first plea bargain. That's not based off of your sentencing guideline.
No,
And a lot of guys don't know what their sentencing guideline and how many points they have. So eventually I started learning, like you, okay, I can write Olympia and I can request my exact crime, my RCW, and then it's based off of the sentencing guideline, which is under this RCW. And they send everything to you, and you're like, wait, this paperwork they gave me when they booked me doesn't match up with this. And
and
so
and they're not good, and they're not, and if you're not like, that's how I was able to not do a life sentence, is because I had to do all that. And you know what? Even at times, my attorney wasn't on my side.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And
100%.
and and I had to deal with that so many times. And when I learned how to fire my attorney, they didn't like that. They didn't like that part where,
It's a racket,
yeah,
dude.
yeah. And then it's
It's a
my I guess, I don't know if I say it's my, I guess my only like proud moment, I guess, of my old career criminal lifestyle, right? I'm gonna tell you is that I made the law books in Washington State. They made a law after me from my trials.
No way.
Yeah,
What?
you can look it up, man. You look it up. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I was like, when I made that law book, it was after I was done. I was walking the new life, and I don't know how I found out. I think
Well,
somebody sent it to
what is
me.
it like the Chocho Fly?
Oh no, it was my old name, but yeah, but it was for that trial. That guy pulled a gun on me.
Uh,
Um, and it's not in favor for anybody. It's not in favor of what they made a law about. It's not in favor for anybody, because what I said was, I'm not, I'm not a violent criminal. I'm not a violent person. The prosecutor used that to bring in, because they can't just bring in your juvenile past, right? So,
They try to.
yeah, well, they did because now because of me saying that, opens the gateway. Now they can use that as a way to bring your juvenile case in.
Oh, so the law doesn't benefit people.
Mm,
It's
they don't benefit people.
the opposite.
No, it's opposite. So,
Well, yeah, and honestly, I can say with I have a testimony,
you
and
know,
I know Clark County is the wrong place to get in trouble. And so if you could, I guess, go back. So you went to prison one time, you got out, and you're still engaged in the same activities. You're fighting cases. I mean, when you're a career criminal, you like I'll be up in bed because I have 9 points, right? Like I was maybe not the same parallel as you, like, but there was some moments that I was throwing my life away very quickly and could have caught the dumbest case ever,
yeah.
right?
You
So
have a few done with like the Subway one, right?
Subway.
Did you rob a Subway
Oh,
in your job or something?
there may have been something like that, but
Sorry, still put it out there.
there may have been something like that. I think
Uh,
the statute of limitations has expired, but yeah, I mean that was dumb, but I mean there was some serious things that I unfortunately got involved in. So all I'm saying is I can relate that it's not about justice all the time. Clark County is the worst place you could get in trouble, and you will end up getting screwed. So the best thing, obviously, of
yeah,
course, that we figured out later in
yeah,
life is like you can't play the game
yeah.
anymore. You have to stop at some point. And so,
Some
th-
people don't know that though.
oh yeah,
Yeah, there. I mean, it's like a never ending. Until somebody can say what you just said. To somebody, they might just go the distance their whole life in that turmoil.
oh, there's tons of people in prison that
Yeah.
I've met. The very last time, and I don't want to make this about me, like I was saying, but there's so many people doing life that are old guys or they're just on the life and
I
enjoying,
know. It's
right?
crazy, man. It's a crazy reality when I was young and I seen that. I used to see it when I was, first sent up in that trial with a guy pulled a gun on me. I went to Monroe, and that's where, you're behind the walls and the first time I ever seen a lifer, I'm saying, was in there. I had no, you know what? I was so naive that I was like, "Oh, when you get out?" They're like, "I'm doing life." Well, how long you been in here? There was these old Filipino dudes that did a Chinatown massacre up in Seattle,
I think I
locked up
was
with a
locked up with one of them in Walla Walla.
I forget what their names are now. One's Jimmy, one's man, they're just nice, great
They robbed
dudes.
a Chinatown, like, killed a bunch of people in the robbery.
Yeah, well, they went in a restaurant and massacred a
Oh,
bunch of
okay.
people in Chinatown, and they were, doing a life sentence, and this first time I was like, "Well, when are you getting out?" Like, "Oh, I'm here for life."
They're like, "Well,
And they already been here. They did this back in '79. I was born in '80. So my thought I was like, how long you been at? I've been here since '79. '79? You got life and you've been here for my whole life? I was like, wow, man. It's a
yeah,
trip. You know what I mean? It's a trip and it puts a reality on the urgency to not come back.
yeah." And so, like, with meeting all these different people, the last so you went to prison the second time, and I kinda wanted to get into that because I think that's something that we share in common as well, is Walla Walla or
Yeah.
Washington State Penitentiary.
Yeah.
So what was the case surrounding that? And then how much time did you end up
Mhm.
doing there, and what did you learn while you were there?
Actually, that's a very good story because it was the last time I was locked up. I was at Walla Walla. It was in 2013. Um, I'm just going through that lifestyle, that I've been talking about, just drugs, crime, depression, and mental health issues. And, I was suffering still with the murder spirit, addiction spirit, a spirit of depression. I was diagnosed with a severe diagnosis that got me Social Security. I was getting paid by the government for my mental health.
While you were in prison?
Well, not while you're in prison, but before,
Oh,
I got a little bit of help. Like I was telling you, the mental health people that was helping me, that my family were like, "Don't trust them. They're gonna brainwash you." Like they actually helped me a lot, man. I mean, shout out to those people, man. That I think about them all the time because they were really they met me in the trap house. They met me in places that like that told me like, man, I made them work for their money. Like I didn't trust them. I was like, you guys cops. Oh, no, we're not the cops. You know what I'm saying? And they was they earned my trust and they helped me get mental health. Help with my mental health and anyways, the last trip, you know, it was a very spiritual trip from the very beginning, right? I've never not been arrested besides from an army, right? When they come to get me, they come with an army. Ooh, man, I'm not gonna lie. And it's so embarrassing. It's the most embarrassing thing is when I get arrested.
It's drama. It's a
Yeah,
the spectacle.
and then when they take me outside and do that perp walk, walking outside, there's been times where people will drive by and like my family friends of my family, people that aren't involved, they'll see me and it'll be so embarrassing. I'm like, can you please like block me from and it'll be embarrassed. And but this time, this time I come back from Portland. I have you know, I think an ounce of meth and a half ounce of heroin, and I'm just looking for some sleep. You know what I'm saying? I jug out to my Portland, and I was like, you know what? Nah, man, I'm gonna jam back out to Washougal. So I shoot out to Washougal, and ain't nobody know I go there.
That's a place that you get caught up pretty easy.
Yeah, but and it's like, man, but I was just going to go rest, and I'll answer. They catch me when I was sleeping.
You were
Uh,
in Washougal with your last they caught you in Washougal.
they come in Washougal my last case.
Where at? 'Cause I know Washougal pretty well.
I think it was I Street. I and like you come off the S14, you come through.
Up by Jet Burger and
No, farther past that. Wait, yeah, I think it's one exit past that. And you go past it. I think you go past the AM/PM when you get off the
oh, yeah,
SR14.
yep, by the cop shop.
Yeah,
Mhm,
and you go up past that light, past that main street. I think that's
mhm,
third. You
mhm.
pass that. Then you go up, and then
By
there's
the
like
Washougal River.
before Washougal River. You just take
Uh-huh.
a left right there on I Street, I think,
Gotcha, gotcha.
and you
Yep,
go back a few blocks.
by the
But
grain toll. Mhm.
yeah, and I have this Jetta, man. You know what I'm saying? And nobody knows like what nobody knows, bro. And
They must've been tracking your phone or something.
I'll tell you how they got me because I didn't know until I got to jail. But what happened was I came like around, I don't know, 5 in the morning where people are going to work. Well, unbeknownst to me, I didn't think about the COs that work in the jail will recognize me, and they happen to live next door.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
and they're the ones when I got to jail, they told me like, I'm like, man, this is weird having because I was getting kind of like, and they're like, no, so it's not weird. You know how you got arrested, how you got found? I was like, how? It's like one of us lived there, and they were there, and they saw you on their way to work. And they called, so they called, and you know what they sent? They sent one DOC officer and two Washougal police that were Hawaiian, and they're Hawaiian, and so they sent, and that was it. So the guy comes in, I'm in the room asleep, and they come in, and there's drug paraphernalia everywhere. It's like I had a backpack like that sitting right there and had the drugs in it, but there's drug paraphernalia. I'm in a trap house, you know what I'm saying? And they pull me out, and I'm just getting into it with the DOC guy, you know what I'm saying? Calling him all kind of crazy stuff, and but then I started noticing, I was like, "It's just you guys?" I was like, and instantly I felt something move on me, you know what I'm saying? Like something changed. Um, I think I came to a place with the police at the same time that we were just gonna go our separate ways. They didn't care about me no more because that's what I felt. I felt like they didn't care. They sent 2 cops, not even task force members, not even federal agents. They sent 2 Hawaiian cops and, a rookie DOC officer. And, I was like, "That's weird." I thought it was weird. I thought I was almost paranoid about it, but I was like, "Man, that's weird." Like, "Just you 2?" I'm like, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, they just sent us 2. I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Oh, man," just felt like it was, a time. I was like, "This is something's changing." And I get into the jail, and then I'm going through my 60 days. I'm going to trial.
What'd they book you on?
Well, they booked me on the drugs, right? And then they had a pending case for, do you know well, I'm not gonna say her name because I don't wanna but anyways, these people that were close to me,
Mhm.
um, her and her boyfriend, they're squares. They started doing drugs. You know what I'm saying? And then because they've been I think because they started being around me a little bit, they thought they were gangsters too. And I've had this happen to me a couple times. It's weird how the
That
meth kind of
make it real
messes with.
hard when you're
Yeah. And so we get into it, but the they got me like mad, but that was it. I didn't like put hands on them. They got so scared. They started running into each other. They fell and broke a glass table. Like literally, they fell on the like. I was like, "Oh, you guys think you're gangsters?" You know what I'm saying? They got scared and they fell, broke the table. They called the cops and said I beat them up.
no.
Another lie. So it's like, so I'm going in. I'm gonna go fight that. Right? It's like this. We're gonna fight this. We're gonna go to trial, and they I get word that the witness is not coming. She took off.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm like, "Cool."
You're thinking you're good.
They show up to me the day before trial, and they offer me a year and a day, and I was like, "It's only a couple hours till trial date, and I know I'm gonna win." You know what I'm saying? And what happened is they go arrest
The person.
the person. They find her, and they go arrest her, and they bring her in, and, and they were going the trial's the next day, so I'm going there, and then my attorney comes and tells me, "Oh, they found her," and I knew, "Oh, no, I can't go to trial because this is gonna be all bad," you know what I'm saying? I was like, "Let's go get a deal, get that year a day, I'll just take that," because I was like, a year a day, nothing.
Yeah, and you get good time, and if it's how much time do you end up doing on a year in a day?
I didn't do a year a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took that deal off the table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they took but I just wanted the drug charges, right? I didn't wanna take other stuff I didn't do. You know what I'm saying? I was like, "I just want the drug charges." I was like and they gave me what I wanted, but they gave me a year a day, take the drug charges, like, "Nah." And then they came back and they offered me 18 months.
Was it was
Uh,
just for the drugs?
yeah, just for the drugs.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's I mean, you probably did the math, and like, "Okay,
yeah,
this is I'll get some time off
yeah,
for this and this," and
yeah,
great.
and I know I'll get out quick, it's nothing. I'm already doing a lot of time, and plus it's like a little break, but I I go up to Walla Walla from there.
So you hadn't been to was Walla Walla different than Monroe, or was it similar? Was it a different experience, or 'cause it
Um,
obviously you had something that changed, and every story has, like,
yeah,
a trans
yeah.
like
This is
a
the trend. Yeah, this prison is what trend. No, because you know how I'm rolling with in the OOS car. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the API car, so it's not like everybody's already put in work to establish our car in the system. So I almost feel spoiled when I come in there, right? Like I don't,
back in the day for me is like it was different because I got out of Walla Walla in like 2007, and so there was a couple, but they didn't have like a deep car there.
Oh wow,
And then most of it was like West Coast. All the
yeah,
Polynesians were West Coast.
yeah.
So then when they made that new facility, they just opened everything
The West
up,
Complex,
and then they
yeah.
started letting everybody in together. So I'm assuming that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's always shifting. It's just, how they do their classification with, everyone. But I opened the new Walla Walla,
Okay. Yep.
the medium security, Victor and I forget the other unit.
Did they keep the bar units there?
Yeah, that's camp. Uh, the bar units are camp.
That used to be neat.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, they have that, but that's all camp. They're all kicking it in there.
Okay.
But the Walla Walla that I went, it was just all new. And the politics, prison politics. You know what I'm saying? I just roll with my own. You know what I mean? And everybody looks out for each other. It's just, I mean, it's really just a. I ain't gonna say it's bad. You know what I'm saying? I just, it was not bad to me. It was just like love and everybody looking out for each other. I'm already doing time already, so it's not really anything. So
So a lot of people, yeah, like I understand because I've been in the poly car before, and it's as long as you're good. I mean, and even if you're not good, like
yeah.
they're still a lot more compassionate on their
Mhm.
people, and yeah, 'cause the spreads are crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like some people when they go to Walla Walla or they go through a hard situation, that becomes a turning point for them. That's like their catalyst for change.
For change.
So for you, like, what was your catalyst for
Yeah,
change?
I'll tell you what happened, and I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but, like, like, everything's different growing up, right? What I did was, there's a lot of islanders and natives that was from Clark County, and, I've never told this story publicly. Maybe, maybe some meetings or something, but what happened is that, on my way up, I start a I call it mafia tribe, right? And it was gonna be islanders and natives. And I was having everybody swear their lives by blood, swear their on their family lineage to to this organization, and I was just seeing tons of islanders and natives on the way up to Walla Walla. So everybody was from Clark County, like because we were so disorganized in the crime out here, right? We were just really disorganized. I was bringing that organization to it, and so I had everybody swearing themselves to me, man, and on my way if you're from Clark County, you're Asian, Pacific Islander, Native, you're gonna be this. And there's a few people out there that are out here now that know because they signed up for it too. But I'm going up and 18 months, nothing. It's 12 months on 18, right? So I'm going up, and my plan was to go up there, network with the paisas, get a connection, and make sure all the ooses and the car knows what I'm doing. So when I'm doing stuff, I want to be really organized with it. And I get up there, and I'm politicking. You know what I'm saying? I'm politicking what we're gonna do at Clark County. All the ooses, they're like, "You're crazy." Like, no, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna move. It's like they get me because I'm by myself. They ain't gonna get me no more. That's what they ain't gonna get me no more. I'm gonna have like I'm gonna have so
I love this hat.
yeah, it's a dope hat. Yeah. Has a 23 in there, right? No, just the
Browning.
yeah,
It's a deer.
the deer.
Like everybody in Alabama and Mississippi like wears stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Even all the black dudes.
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
Everyone's country.
Yeah, I would be the same way too, man. I love it.
Yeah, so you got 18 months in your
Uh-huh.
case.
Mhm.
And so just walk us through kind of what your mindset was like going in there.
Mhm.
You're going back to Walla Walla, so you
Mhm.
like is this your first time to Walla Walla?
My first time. Yep.
Have for me, Walla Walla kind of has a reputation.
It
So
does.
did you hear about that before going
Yep.
up there? And were
Oh
you
yeah.
thinking,
All my life, yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yeah. So I didn't know what to expect. They gave me my orders, in Shelton. That
got your
was
bag?
yeah, I got the bag to go to Walla Walla.
Like what?
You
Did you
know,
know?
uh-huh.
Did you know you were going there?
I did.
Okay,
Like I don't know when I did because one of the ooses was going to, that was from Clark County. Ended up being with my best friend, man. Love the brother, man. But he was part of the mafia tribe we were establishing for the Clark County area for the API card, So, but yeah, we're going to Walla Walla, and all the years of hearing about Walla Walla and knowing, the stories of um, the legends of that lifestyle
I mean
was
it's an
there.
old school penitentiary built in like the turn of the century, so it's like been around
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. One there's time when it was the worst prison across the country.
They wrote a book about it. I know that
Yeah,
much.
they did. And so it has a lot of a mystique and mystery and lure. And it was only
I was scared first
yeah,
time I went there. I was
yeah,
like, "Oh my gosh, praying."
yeah. I mean, but
I can keep it real now,
yeah,
but
but keeping it real though. I mean, and humble. I don't say this with any kind of arrogance or like it is what it is. But out of Vancouver, I would say I don't know. I would say that I'm probably one of the most notorious to ever walk this land here in this area.
hey, you have a reputation there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and the reason that the way you know that is not just by what the streets talk because they talked, but it's where the police and the feds put you on that. I was on the top of that, and like,
you're validated.
yeah, I'm like, what about the cartels? Like all these people that they're like, can't you put them above me? But no, I was number one on their list every time, and so it was only right that I go to Walla Walla. You know what I'm saying? That's why I felt. I was like, oh yeah, all
You
right,
made it.
yeah, this is I'm supposed to go here. You know what I'm saying? This is legendary. You know, I was looking for that experience to, and I didn't know what to expect. Besides, I have an idea what everything is supposed to be like, but like I said, it was a new unit that we're open. I was brand new. Like how you take a brand new sneaker and lick the bottom. That's what I did when I came to my cell. It was a brand new cell, and I licked the wall.
Yeah, I remember they were building as I was leaving. They were building that facility, and I didn't. They hadn't. I think they just started opening the medium yard to let people coming in and share that
Oh wow.
yard for a little bit. So I kind of missed out on
Yeah.
all of that. But I remember Nika, if you know him,
Yep. Hmm.
he went there for a little bit and he was writing me letters like,
For the same sentence that he's in right now.
yeah, he was
Oh
over
wow.
somewhere over there for a little bit, and then he
Yeah.
went to Monroe.
Yes. That's a childhood friend right there. Yeah, but the part where it was a little different because it changed. It was. I mean, when I was there and that they opened, it was Victor and Williams. That's what it is. It's Victor and Williams unit, and it's medium. And I mean, there's a lot of people there, but it just wasn't the lure that I was
Expecting
expecting. And I see. I know why because they were just
they made it safer.
yeah, it made it safer. I mean, the West Complex is next door, so everything was there in the West Complex, but it's just it was everything was cooler. The politicking, was as expected, but at the same time, the the games that, that you play on the prison yard. I didn't really experience that whole experience there, to be honest. I mean, but it was, at the same time, we all stuck to our own, API. All the ooses are over here, and, we mixed on the gambling tables. It was the year the Seahawks won their first Super Bowl, what I'm saying? I was in there, so it was like a great time to be locked up in the Washington State prison when the Seahawks won their first Super Bowl, so everybody was in a good mood. The COs, the inmates, all of us in a good mood. But yeah, so going there, it wasn't like what I was groomed to know about the experiences. Like I know tons of people have been there, and it's just because it was changed. It was a new unit. It was a shift into how they're doing things out there. But
Yeah, I think they just got tired of all the just one group having control over everything,
Mhm.
and then, just all the stabbings, the
Yeah,
fightings, like, even in the medium yard,
yeah,
BMU bar units, like, I've seen guys get stomped out in the breezeway heading back to the unit,
yeah. Oh wow,
and they
yeah,
couldn't barely grab anybody for that. So
yeah.
there was, like, tons of blind spots in those old facilities, and so I think that's probably part of the reason why
Oh,
there's.
also they opened Coyote Ridge and Airway Heights. So those are prisons that are near there, but a lot of that was happening in Coyote Ridge more than at Walla Walla, where Walla Walla, I feel like I don't know if it's now, it's been, 12 years come next week. March 22nd is when I got out of Walla Walla. So, but going in there, the plan was to politic about the the mafia tribe that we were starting in Vancouver, and and talking to all the ooses, what I'm saying, make sure everybody is getting support. They're just like, man, you're crazy. But that was my mindset. What I'm saying, I was set on that, and I was, making moves in there because I'm only in there for a short sentence, so it's kind of like I'm gonna go in there, what I'm saying, say what's up, and be out, jug out. You know what I'm saying? And I just that was the plan. And getting out, I don't know, it was like somewhere 2013. I think it might have been summertime or right after summertime, like just before Christmas or something, maybe Halloween. They posted um a AA meeting, and I was in a mental health treatment program for. It's just one of those things that's my mix. You know what I'm saying? I have to mix it with those. But they introduced me to recovery, and so something moved me, bro. Like my whole mindset is so completely opposite than going to an AA meeting. I wasn't about self help, but
Sounds like it.
something moved me, and I went not expecting anything, just to just to go. And they started an AA meeting in there, and something like moved on me, and I wasn't expecting it, and it wasn't like in that moment that something happened. What happened, the transition that happened is that I left that AA meeting, and it's like, you know what? What do I got to lose? I'm gonna go back to my cell. I'm gonna get on my knees and I'll pray to God. And that's what I did. I went back to my knees. I prayed to God, and I surrendered my life to God in that middle of that prison cell, all by myself. Nobody came and prayed for me. Nobody laid hands on me or anything. But I felt the move of God come in and pull a murder spirit out of my throat. I was radically delivered on the spot. And when I felt God move on me and pull it out, I didn't know I even had it on me until it left me. So the transition point for me was that radical moment. Excuse me. That radical moment where I was radically delivered from something I suffered with all my life. I suffered with this murder spirit all my life. Like murder, death, kill was my mantra. You know what I'm saying? That's what that's how I moved. Like my steps was murder, death, kill, murder, death, kill, and that's what I lived by and fought for a long time. And when God removed it, bro, let me tell you, when God removed it, um, I felt unworthy. I was like, I'm not worthy of this. And God just let me know that you're not, but I love you. And I was like, all right, man. And at that point, it's like I already had plans to go do evil. And I had people cut their blood and get swore their lives to me. And um, I was like, you know what? At that point, I was like, I don't know what to do. I looked at it, it was a win-win situation. I either go with this mafia tribe or God's gonna move in my life, and I just allow. What I did is I just surrendered and then allowed allow God to bring things into my life, and I didn't try to make a move. Didn't move anything. I just let it see what happened.
So explain to me about what so you got this 18-month sentence. What point of that sentence did you start going to this AA and then you had this happen? What period of that time would you say?
Yeah, so
Like beginning, middle, end?
October, yeah, probably the middle, and like yeah, in the middle because it was like it was not wintertime. It was not summertime. It was somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly, but I'm gonna say it's like October for Halloween, or no, it was September because I remember there was a sunny day and everybody was going out to yard and they're going past the breezeway. And the funny thing is, all those just seeing me going, all the homies were seeing me. All those just like, "What are you doing in there?" And they were all like laughing at me, and I was like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know. I did. I to this day I can't. I can now, but for most of the time after, I couldn't explain. I couldn't explain it away. Like something moved me. I don't know how to explain it. I just the thing is like, man, I can't. There's no. I couldn't figure out how to explain it away because something had got me into that room, and
You know what I'm you didn't ask for my opinion, but
you know,
what I think it is like sometimes when we like you said you don't feel worthy and you weren't expecting it. It's
mhm,
like the spirit of God moves on you because you took an act of faith just to get on your knees and pray.
yeah,
You're like,
full act of surrender. Yeah, God's not looking for our performance. He's looking for our surrender. And that was the first time. I mean, how many times did we surrender? I've never surrendered in my life. Like I'm that. I mean, surrender is weakness. That's the part where it's like, and I wasn't expecting nothing. And I don't. I think the AA meeting kind of stirred the surrender to go back and surrender because I was thinking, well, I've never done that before. I'll just go do. Like it's like you go and pray for something. I'll just go pray. What I'm saying. I'll tell you that the thing about Islanders, right? We are blessed with the gift of faith. In our culture, faith is a blessing that we have. So we I don't even the criminals and that lifestyle, we're just that's what it's nothing like abnormal for an Islander to go and pray, even if they're out there.
that's true. Even in some of my darkest moments, I was still like praying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please don't like, but I'll still like F it.
Yeah, every Islander is like that. Every Islander I know, it's like we have this gift of faith. So it wasn't like like for me, it wasn't like having some like like a moment of I'm gonna go pray because praying was just like I prayed every once in a while. What I'm saying, praying, but that prayer of surrender, um, um, that's what um release because God's a gentleman, right? I think we might talk about God's a gentleman. God's not going to force himself on us.
Mhm.
He's not. And we have to come to a place of surrender. And that was my moment. That was my moment. What I felt was aha moment. I was like, I had an aha moment that, oh, God's real. Surrender is what I needed to do. And that God had more, God had more for me. And that what transpired from it is that before they come in there is I believe in the multiple pathways of healing through professional help, through recovery, and through faith. Above all of that, because I believe there's two confessions, right?
Multiple pathways of healing.
Yeah, I mean, because because there's like I'm proof of that. I'm proof you can heal, but it took like God brought these people from professional, these psychiatrists. I was diagnosed with a severe diagnosis that got me Social Security. When I got out of prison, I didn't know I had money. If it wasn't for the diagnosis that I got Social Security, I wasn't going to be able to pay for rent. I didn't even expect that. I came out homeless. I was homeless for like 3-4 days.
I remember in 2014, I remember you calling me from Walla Walla, and I was like in Texas somewhere working.
Oh, I
I was
remember
going
that.
through,
Oh, that's
I was
crazy.
going through a bankruptcy, and I was like, Chocho calls me collect from Walla Walla. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah,
And you were looking for a release. I
yeah.
don't know. Did you find? I think I told you to go ask SEMA or something like that.
No, I didn't. I didn't find no place. No place would
Mhm.
accept me.
Wow.
Yeah, it took like it's just like I was just on like trusting the Lord. I was like, I don't know, man, what you got for me, but I could go back to that old way, which I had an opportunity. They all came and they're like, here, come here. But I stayed and I was like, you know what? Part of it is like, I don't, back then, like I didn't deal with rejection, right? Because I tried to overcome rejection. Like they didn't, all these clean and sober houses, Oxford houses, they didn't let me into the house, so, but, if one finally did, and I'm thankful for those guys that let me into the house, but I'm thankful is that
Who was the house that finally let you in?
King's Pond.
Yeah, I remember I was at the Rock, so I got pretty lucky where I had the first 90 days was free. right?
Oh,
So
wow.
as long as you weren't screwing up, and I got lucky, Duke at the shipyards got me a job
Oh, wow.
right
I was just
right
thinking about him earlier.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I was, like, doing nothing but work. I still
yeah,
found a way to screw it up, but yeah, that it's super helpful, I think, this to it's super helpful for guys that are getting out to have a somewhere to release and a support group. If you don't have that, you're obviously your chances of reoffending and effing up go up dramatically.
yeah, 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 and I knew that too, and you know what, the, like, the place of, like, I knew something happened to me in that prison cell. Nobody was else there was no witnesses, but only me, and I couldn't deny what happened. I couldn't explain it away. All I knew is, like, I had a radical deliverance of that murder spirit that was familiar to me. It was familiar to me. I knew something when it left me, I didn't know it was in me, but I knew what it was when it left. And I felt the part where, like, where I got a diagnosis from is because I suffered with homicidal thoughts. Like, I thought about killing people every day, and to walk around with that and not know, I just thought that was just programming from, like, my dad, teaching me how to fight. I wanted to share this because I think it's important to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I think that's the biggest shift. Without, our families to one thing, my dad was not he wasn't a good father. He didn't raise me right. He didn't protect my siblings and me. He wasn't a good father. But what he did do was he introduced me to Jesus. He did do that. And I couldn't ask more. Everything else that was bad, the one thing he did do is install that because he might not know how to help me, but he knew Jesus was the answer. And so when I got to that place where I get out and it's the goodness of God, right? Because the part where we know that dark place, right? And I'm so thankful today because God reached down into that pit and pulled me out to the light. And I'm like, man, I'm not worthy, but we're not worthy, but Christ did that, and Jesus did that. Like, I just have to receive it. And when I realized that, man, the shift that took place in my life is why I'm here today. 12 years later, I'm still pressing in for the Lord because of that experience. I don't forget that part, right? The radicalness of God. And it had to happen radical. For me, it had to happen radical. I mean, I'm just a radical person, I think, at times, but and that's why I do things that are radical these days, right? Like, I do radical things because it took a radical experience for me to turn away from the wickedness that I was living, the oppression of darkness that I was in, and I didn't know no better. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know nobody. Nobody came and brought the light to me. And God used different things, and God will use the foolish things to shame the wise. You know what I'm saying? He will. And I'm a perfect example. Like, I'm a foolish thing. Like, you're using me, and that transition is a blessing. I'm thankful because of my life today. It's like 12 years ago, I didn't think I would be where I'm at now, but God did. God knew. And that cell, all the trauma that I was going through in life, from the upraising, the dysfunctional family, the abusive family, the drug and alcohol, the mental health issues, the drug abuse, the violent lifestyle, the times, like, I was 34 when I got out of prison, and I look at 33 years before that, was darkness, was torment, was hell here on earth. My whole life has been nothing but suffering and pain. And then when I got to 34 years, it's like, and I'm getting out of that prison, and I feel like God moving me. I'm just like, this is where you want me to go? I was like, man, I thought it'd be in the church, Lord. You know what I'm saying? But you got me going through recovery and doing all this recovery stuff. And I see now why, because the enemy's got three jobs, steal, kill, and destroy. And he's going to use the wicked things of this earth to kill people.
Yeah, it's very true. The opposition is dead set on destroying you. And I tell my kids this a lot, like, look, God is real, and both God and his opposition are both
Yes.
fighting for your soul. And it's important that you do things on a daily basis. I mean, this is just dad advice. I'm like, you need to read your scriptures each day a little bit.
Yeah.
You need to pray every day. You need to try to make it to church on Sunday.
Mhm.
Because, like you, I can say a lot about my parents and upbringing that was definitely not perfect. And I found God and the church, like you're saying, he directed me to Jesus. I feel the same way because he def my parents were not living the gospel. It was one big kind of just one, and I think everyone there's no perfect parent, right? But I think about how imperfect they were as examples of living the right way, but I still was able to find God. And that part I can thank them for,
Mhm.
just like you. And I totally relate to that. Um, what about so now you're getting out to you got to
Yeah.
a clean sober home. Then what because now you're I see you all over the internet. Anyone that knows Chocho, he's really involved in Christian ministry and his music ministry and just out there everywhere. So how did you get into transition into that?
Yeah, yeah. I think the part, and this is the honest truth, is that, when I got out, the whole thing is like everything was about me. Like God was getting me clean. He was moving on me, and a year or two after being out of prison, I'm a business owner and I'm thriving in life. And that's the whole, like, I'm like, oh, this is what, my kids are in my life, and this is the whole, what I thought everything was about was, like I go to recovery meetings, recovery church, I'm on a pastoral team, and I'm just doing the program in a way where, is meant to be used for people that are drug addicts. And what happened is in 2019, my brother um, killed himself. He committed suicide. The part where the devil lied to my brother and convinced him that was the answer. The problem for me that changed everything was that I was living a good life. I was doing everything for myself, right? And my kids and everything. My brother, he wanted a truck, so I bought him a truck. And then he was staying at my house. This is like before he killed himself, he came and stayed the night at my house. I I left that day, the next day, told him bye, and when I went to church and didn't even invite my brother. My brother left my house, drove to North Portland and jumped off the St. John's Bridge and committed suicide. And it was a slap to my face, a little slap to my face, because the honest truth is,
Oh man.
the 12 steps in AA only can help me. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't help other people. It only helps me. Like it helps me to stay sober so I can be a good human being. But I can't 12 step the devil. You know what I'm saying? I can't 12 step the devil for my brother. Only thing that I can come against is Jesus. And so that's what transpired. The next part of my life is that when I that happened to me, it hurt, man. It wrecked my family, and I took it as a personal attack and slap on my face from the devil. And I've woke up every day since then with one thing on my mind, is to slap the devil, punch him in his face. And I've learned how to fight different these days, right? But that's what pushed me into the ministry work harder, because that wasn't going to be the devil wasn't going to have the upper hand. Like, oh, okay, this happened to your brother, and then what? I go back to doing drugs. I go back to prison. I
That
fall
could
back
have
into
been a
that.
moment. That was a defining moment for you. I'm so sorry, for your loss. A lot of people would have used that as a reason to give up or to
Yeah.
relapse or to a lot of things, but obviously
Mm.
that's not the path that you took.
Can you pause for a second?
Sure.
If I can call I think I called the daycare. I know that was them calling because like Chocho had a little incident.
All right. Okay. That was pretty fire, man. The best parts about podcasting with the homies, getting that uh, getting that comida in. So where were we at?
I was just talking about that. I forget.
So so you're it's I think we were talking about what got you into the ministry. So after you got out, you got into,
Oh yeah, my brother passing.
your brother passed away.
That's right. I took the situation with my brother, especially that I was going to church, doing a lot of things in recovery at the time, and like when he passed, it was like it broke me, man. I ain't gonna lie, it broke me. I wanted to fight somebody, but there was nobody there to fight, and so that begun my what I'd done up to that point was, because all the tension I've ever had in Vancouver, people always want attention. I don't care for attention. I've always had attention, always all my life, especially from the police, man. You know, it's like I have always had lots of attention in my life, so I don't really care for it. So I've always like tried to like when I got out of prison, you know, I'm gonna sit in the sideline. You know what I'm saying? Let me sit on the let me cheer everybody on. And you know that cheering that you know I was doing was just cheering everybody on. Wasn't like doing anything besides supporting people and being a part of what people are doing. When my brother committed suicide, I decided I'm getting off the sideline. You know, I'm gonna jump into it, and you know we're gonna reach one soul. We're gonna save one soul. That was like what happened to my brother wasn't going to be in vain. Somebody's life was going to be rescued because of what happened with my brother. And, you know, so that transcended me into ministry work. You know, I became a youth pastor for the church I was going to and got into ministry. Then it opened the doors when I surrendered, that prayer surrender opened the door to allow God to move in. And in the same way, when I opened myself to get off the sideline and come into ministry, it opened up the door. And you know, the God started positioning me to be equipped with all the necessary weapons, righteousness and authority and the goodness of God to walk out everything. But it really opened up things where I started moving into ministry. God led to Kingdom Music Ministry, who really influenced me, supported me, built me up. Was there round the clock. I went to Bible college too. You know, I'm only a couple tests right away from my master's degree, but I got my bachelor's
Wow.
degree in that. Yeah, and so in you know, so that Bible college and between Bible college and Kingdom Music has really discipled me and equipped me for what I do today. You know, and it all glory to God. You know, and being able to walk that part out. But the part where I was saying, man, God pulled me out of the dark and pulled me to the light. You know, and I thought it was just for, you know, selfish me, you know, just go sit until my brother passed. My brother passed, I realized that God brought me out, not for just for me. He brought me out to go back to the places that people where I used to be and to reach the ones that are still in the dark and pull them out too. So, and then here comes baby Chocho.
And one of your other reasons, right?
Yeah, one of my big reasons. Chocho, come here. This is my most favorite person ever. Say hi, Chocho. Hi. This is what God blessed me with baby Chocho, which changed my heart of stone to a heart of flesh, and you know has given me the ability to come against things in the spirit and in the flesh for not just for others but for me and mine, and especially for baby Chocho, who was just a blessing. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, you have an incredible story, and a lot of people, especially here in the Northwest, you know you, know your story, and are many people are blown away by transformation.
they are, yeah.
The main thing that they share in common is that they had to go through these all of these series of events to get to where they're at today. If you could give, and you're looking back at your
Hmm.
younger self or a young man who's maybe in some of the same
Hmm.
situations as you were faced with maybe joining a gang or drinking for the first time or doing
Hmm.
drugs, what would you tell that person?
You know the reality is that it's all about influence. Influence is the biggest key to helping that person, especially if they're young, right? It's influence is going to be the biggest key, and that's why we do music, right? Music is such a weapon and a tool to really influence people because music's one of the most beautiful things on earth. You know, I listen to it every day. It's got me through a lot of stuff in my life. But the interesting thing about music is it's not going to take something out of you, but it's going to leave something in you. And so when we're able to place things in people, we want to influence people not by condemnation, right? Like we talked about confession. We talked about confession earlier. I mean, our background, what we think naturally when it comes to confession is I'm gonna be in trouble. I'm telling on myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he confessed to the crime of this and that. So we always connect that part to it. But we don't want to um condemn people, or you know you don't want we don't want to come and and make them feel like they're being judged, because even though we know if this is going to lead to death, Every fact on earth says if you walk down this path and you continue without change, it's death, prison, or institutions. One of those are going to happen. But my approach to people, and even if they're already involved, I don't, I want to make sure that they feel supported. Self empowerment. I mean, how can I give somebody Jesus if they're dealing with, like other things, like they're hungry? Feed them first. What I'm saying? Let's feed them first. They're hungry, feed them first, and then give them the gospel, right? Are we going to, if they're hungry, are we going to give them the gospel before we give them food? Doesn't make sense. What would make a difference to somebody is they know the guns are bad. What they need to know more is that a better way of how we're supposed to do things. You know, like it's that split second that somebody makes a decision to pull the trigger.
So it's almost like I always tell this as as an analogy, like what you put in your eyes, what you put in your ears, and
Yes,
what you put in your mouth
mhm,
ends up becoming your reality,
it
right?
does.
And so,
Well, the Bible speaks about that, right? The Bible says, "Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing comes from the word of God." So our hearing is so important. It's so important that we protect our hearing, because what we hear is what we'll believe, and what we'll believe is what we'll do. If all they're hearing is, and you're bad for this, you're bad for that. Well, that's common sense. They know the guns are bad. They know drugs are bad. But what they need to know is more of a hope, or support, or empowerment, or or truth in the way, because there's a lot of facts, right? Facts and truth, they almost are the same, right? But I'll tell you the difference between facts and truth. The fact is, my walls are white, right?
it's a nice house.
Yeah, but thank you. But the other fact is, later tonight I could paint these walls red. You know what I'm saying? So the facts can change, but the truth is, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And how we deliver that to people is important, because that they catch the simplicity of the gospel is going to set them free. We're just talking about that, right? It's like the gospel is it's not my testimony, it's not my knowledge or wisdom, it's the gospel that sets people free. And so, in faith comes from hearing, and hearing comes the word of God. So learning how to influence people with the gospel in a way has been the key for us.
So it sounds like, if I was a young man, you know, living practicing what you're preaching and being
Mhm.
the example of how Jesus Christ has transformed your life.
Yeah.
I once heard former bishop of mine, as I was going through a process of transformation and change,
Mhm.
which, I think as you're going throughout life,
Yeah,
you have it's continuous change,
it
right?
is.
It's like there's no finish
Yeah.
line. But he said that, and I still remember to this day, Bishop Hamadeh, shout outs to him. He was a former DEA agent and a Salt Lake City
Hey.
detective. So
Well, okay. Yeah,
he
you
was
see it.
cool. He was
Yeah,
cool though.
he's all the way hip to everything.
But he told me that the Lord looks upon the sinner with mercy.
Yes.
So when you confess, when you admit that, hey, there's
Yes.
something that I
Yeah.
might need to change here, and it takes a
Yeah.
lot for people to get, like me, especially the youth,
Yeah.
because a lot of them don't know any better.
Yeah. They suffer in
Um,
silence.
but God is not a God of like, in my experience now, as I'm older and I understand
Yeah.
things, He's a God of mercy.
Yes.
He's somebody that wants to forgive you,
Yep.
and He wants to like
Mhm.
bless you, but it's hard when we tend to
Yeah.
block our blessings,
Yeah.
right?
We will block our blessings. Yeah.
So
And that's because of that fact that we feel like we're like God is, like you said, God's a good God. God's a good God. And people need to know that, because we lived that life where God was the all punishing. God was, like he didn't wrote us off. So people need to hear the truth. It's not facts, it's truth. The truth is that God would never leave us nor forsake us. That God's plans for us is to prosper us, not to harm us. And the lie that the devil tries to get the kids is like, your answer is to pull the trigger. Your answer is to kill yourself. Your answer is to do fentanyl. This is the lies that they hear. So how we influence that is, I do a lot, in the youth sector. I have access to students in high school. Not like, I have full access to students to promote the program that we run at the city community center.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of access to, and a lot of it is just more just building a relationship. It's not not preaching at them. What I've learned is the best way I've learned it to explain it is that I've learned how to speak Jesus without using words, and that's love. Love. Jesus loved. He loved people. And we don't need to like beat people over the head, but sometimes you got to meet people where they're at, and you got to walk through stuff with them.
100%.
You know what I mean? And some of them don't want to feel like you're condemning them, like you're coming like oh Chocho, he's just like always coming down with the like you got to do this. The Bible says this. The Bible says that. And just beat them over the head. And that's not my that's not I wouldn't learn that way. That's not how I learned. So
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people, I mean, I think one of the stigmas for me personally, like as I've been listening to you and what it triggered a memory of, for me, like when I used to go to church, and maybe I'm going off a random
mhm.
segue, but I would always feel like I don't belong here because I'm
Oh yeah, for
sinning.
sure.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm like,
condemnation.
I'm
Yeah.
like everyone here is perfect but me.
Yes. Yep.
And as I got older, I realized, um, everybody there is got something going on. They could be wearing
Everybody
a suit
do.
and a tie,
Yeah.
and they all got something going on.
Everybody does.
They all got
Yeah,
something going on. And so the lie that I think the opposition tells people or young
yeah,
people is
yeah.
when I was young, a
Oh, yeah,
teenager, I couldn't that's part of the reason I didn't go,
yeah,
is because I was like, I can't live up to this standard, so
yeah.
what's the point?
Exactly.
But what I learned is God will meet you, like you said, meet
Yeah,
you where you're at today, because if the only thing that you can give is 1%,
yeah,
I really believe that God, recognizes our efforts, and sometimes all
yeah,
we got is 1%. Give that 1%
yeah,
and do your best, and he will cover everything else. And so now
yeah,
that I'm older, I'm like, I don't have
yeah,
no shame. I go in there, I'm like,
yeah,
hey, I don't feel like the eyes on me and the
yeah.
judgment anymore. So I
Yeah, but I
don't
think the part, like, growing up in the church too is, like, we look at it like everybody has to be perfect, and nobody said that, right? But we thought that, right?
yeah.
We thought that because of our own walk that we're going through of being consecrated, right? We're being consecrated all these years, we're being consecrated, there's that lighter season of consecration, but at the end of the day, man, this is the truth, is that God's not looking for the perfect you. He's not looking for the perfect me. He's looking for the honest you and the honest me. He just wants us to come as we are, and he'll meet us where we're at. And when we can help people understand that, that's where the anointing breaks the yoke of bondage on people. That yoke of bondage that people have, the lie that you're not good enough. Well, the truth is, we're not good enough. We're not good enough, but it's not off based off of our works. It's based off what Jesus did, and at the end of the day, you know what? God's uniquely equipped me with some abilities from my past experience, but also being equipped, going to Bible college, being equipped by the ministry, by recovery. Like I've learned how to fight different today. I've learned how to fight with my weapons of recovery and my weapons of righteousness, and my righteousness through Christ, right? And that weapons of righteousness is love and forgiveness, Love and forgiveness is the weapons of heaven, is the language of heaven is love and forgiveness. And as much as I get attacked, what I'm saying? I get attacked, man, but we gotta pray for our haters. You know what I'm saying? We gotta pray for our haters. God's prepared a table for us in the presence of our enemies, is what it says.
Yeah.
And a feast, and we don't have to. God will fight our battles, but the part where today where like I've been through a lot, man. I've been through a lot after everything, because I walked with the Lord since leaving prison. It rains on the just and unjust alike.
100%.
And I have dealt with my brother committed suicide. I've dealt with an abusive marriage every day, and I wouldn't have gained the ability to give the love of Jesus, that love that we don't deserve. That same love that Jesus gave me is the same ability that I realized married to somebody that, I mean, she stuck me in the neck every day. I mean, she stabbed me in my back. She cut me all the time. She attacked me physically, emotionally, spiritually. But God used that. God would use what the enemy meant for evil and turn it to good. Everything works out for the good of for those who love God and who's called according to his purpose. And he used that to teach me that I can give the love of Jesus. And I'm so thankful for her. I would do it over 100 times worse to get to where I'm at spiritually, but also to get to baby Chocho. Man, God used her to give me the biggest blessing of my life. It wouldn't have happened without her. My heart, I had a heart of stone. It became a heart of flesh because God brought baby Chocho into my life. I mean, he got great favor, not because he's a Faifai, because he's a Chocho Faifai. He's Chocho Faifai Jr. He had great favor with me, and you know, I have great favor with the Lord, so my kids have great favor with the Lord too. You know, and understanding these parts is really important to all the people that are going to watch this. That our job really in this podcast really is going to help people understand that, you know, that none of us are perfect, and we're all striving, and we all have our past. But you know what? The transformation that I've seen in this podcast with people is amazing because it shows proof that there's a good God. There's a good God. Like, you know, I don't deserve the goodness. I don't deserve a beautiful home. I don't deserve to have a relationship with my kids because of my wicked ways. But because what Jesus did, I'm able to. And we got to understand that atonement there, and not overcomplicate, because we do overcomplicate it, right?
The atonement is the enabling power of God's grace to work in our lives.
Yeah.
And, I used to think that
Come on.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna work my way. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
if I'm good enough, then but God's grace, He's already
Hmm.
paid the price.
Yeah.
And that's very freeing. Uh but it sounds like, you have a lot of influence on the youth out here in Clark County.
Hmm.
And when I first got out, it was a huge part of my recovery was to go speak at like juvenile facilities,
Yep.
and
Hmm.
I love that. I get so much. I haven't done it in a long time, but are there any other, for like whoever views this, especially the youth? Is there any other words of advice that you would give or encouragement that you give to your younger self or to a
Yeah.
young man who's just, you know, once is in the moment right now where they'll hear
Mhm.
it?
Yeah, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, to die for it, that for whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life." And it's not about, that's the prerequisite to the heavenly things in our life, and once we can receive that, it's not work for it. We don't need to do no work. We just have to receive this. And you know, the part where some of us, we were talking about blocking the blessings, that we can block our blessings, man. Let me tell you, logically, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? You give your life to the Lord, and the worst that can happen is nothing changes. Everything stays the same. But the the thing that can happen is that you'll get to go to heaven. You'll get to have freedom. And I think that sometimes we block those blessings. And I want to encourage whoever's watching this, don't let nothing get in the way of you having more of God and having the goodness of God. Do whatever you got to do to have more of it, because the part where I realized in my life is that, you know, I was trying to control everything so much. I was trying to run everything, and a lot of times, a lot of us are dealing with heavy things in our life, and we wake up. We go to bed with the heaviness. We wake up with the heaviness on our chest. The bills. How am I going to pay the bills? What am I going to do here? And the goodness of God is that he says that you could trust in him with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. That if you seek his kingdom first, his righteousness above all else, that he'll add to you. What are the things that he's going to add? The worldly things that we need here on earth. That if we abide in him and that his word abides in us, that he will give us whatever we ask that we desire. It will be done for us. And so when we can lock into the goodness of God, I've seen, like, things open up. I was telling Todd, man, I was like, "Man, I've been in a season of this consecration of godliness plus contentment is great gain," because, you know, I've always been a business owner since I've been out of prison and just money driven, this and that. But in this season that I've been able to, God has been able to bless me tremendously. Like, I mean, I don't my finances is not what it used to be, and but God has, like, blessed me and taken care of me, and if he could do that for a wicked, wretched man like me, man, he could do it for you too. It's not just for us, it's for everybody to attain it. So if that's something that you're looking for, and if you're wanting a change, man, for real, man, God's the way. Jesus is the way, the truth, and life, and that's what we need to go do, is press into him. And he's not asking for us to make it all happen. He's just asking us just to receive it. And when we receive it, that's the level up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. You know, I think that any step forward that we make towards the Savior, if we act on a particle of faith, he'll manifest himself to us. I really
Yes.
believe that.
Yes.
You know, the opportunity to be able to hear about your
Mhm.
life story and everything that you've been through.
Sure. Just for whoever's viewing this, I don't know what you may going through, what you may be dealing with right now, but if you're dealing with something, this prayer is going to go out for the ones that's viewing this, that's having the heaviness on their heart and carrying the worries of the world, the stress of having to provide for our families. It says where two or more gather, He promises to be here. So we know that God's going to be in this prayer. So we're going to pray in agreement together for you if you are needing prayer, and we're gonna pray for this the viewers that are out there. All right, Father God, Lord, I just thank you, Heavenly Father, for your love, Father God, that you loved us so much that you sent your only Son to die for us. That whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal life, Father God. I thank you for your love, Father God, that you showed action behind your love, Father God, that we don't have to perfect, Lord. That you're not looking for perfect. You're looking for the honest, to honest us to come as we are, Lord. And we just come and pray for the person that's watching here, Lord, that's seeking more of you, that's wanting more of you, Father God. Do what you do best, Father God. Show up and show out in their life. Break through any strongholds that is a barrier for that person's life. We thank you for all that you're doing for that person and their family. We thank you for the hedge of protection over them. We thank you, Father God, for the atonement, the grace, the mercy, Lord, that you're a good God, Father God. And we just give you all the praise and glory in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. You guys are interested in finding out more about the movement that Chocho Faifai has going on with Kingdom Family Northwest,
Yep.
go check them out at.
KingdomFamilyNW.com.
We love you guys, and I hope that you guys gain some great insight from this podcast. And you can
Yeah.
also find this on the Consecrate podcast on YouTube and Spotify. God bless you.
God bless you. Yes.